Welcome. It is Fridays in Fintech. We have an amazing guest today. We have Manish Jain, CFA, calling in all the way from San Francisco Bay Area. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks. It's Manish, by the way, but
Manish.
I appreciate the kind introductions and even giving me three letters at the end of my name. Thank you.
Yeah, and well, a little bit about our guest. So Manish started his career as a sell-side equity research associate at JP Morgan, where he developed an investment thesis for consumer and B2B companies with recurring and non-recurring revenue models and marketed research to hedge funds and mutual funds. And from there, he went to become VP of Portfolio Strategy, also at JP Morgan, at the Chief Investment Office, where he played a significant role in maximizing the firm's net interest income and also helped manage a $300 billion securities portfolio. That's super impressive. I'm really excited to hear more about that. And then from there, he's not dead yet. He was a principal at the venture team. I had my notes, but
It's at Trilogy. It was my
Trilogy.
last role before starting Mezzi.
Yep, exactly. Where you're also a board observer of 4 different startups. And then from there, you decided to jump into the founder seat and became CEO and co-founder of Mezzi, where I'm super excited to hear more about, where you're kind of revolutionizing how wealth tech is being used in helping out new people look at how they manage their assets. So yeah, great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jake. I appreciate it. And huge props to that wallpaper behind you. I love the bunnies.
I know. It's like bunnies and
mushrooms. I mean, I guess I get it. Bunnies in a field, but it's still an odd combo for wallpaper.
I know, Alice in Wonderland vibes. I guess that's where it's going with that. And so, Manish, we try to ask the tough questions starting out. So,
oh boy.
Really, do you prefer pineapple on your pizza?
I was ready for this one. I thought some of the other ones, I was only ready. That being said, it's like a no-brainer. Definitely pineapple on pizza. It definitely works. It's kind of sacrilegious for me to say that as a New Yorker who is like, takes pizza very, very seriously. But every now and then a Domino's pizza with some pineapple and jalapenos does a job.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. I'm not gonna. I maybe won't go out of my way, but hey, if it's there, it could be a nice little mix up. And for some reason, a lot of New Yorkers I talk to, like they're cool with the Domino's pizza getting pineapple, but you can't be too open about it.
It's like 2 or 3 times a year when Super Bowl or whatnot. But the sweet and spicy, it's like you got to have the jalapenos with the pineapple. It can't just be like just pineapple.
Yeah, I totally on board. The weirdest one, I think Caliani from Cobalt said, which was pineapples and olives.
I saw that.
It was kind of nuts. I was like, wow, I guess I gotta try it.
I'm tempted to try it, but not really.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now back to the other serious questions. I mean, you have a super impressive background, working on Wall Street, and I'm curious, what kind of led you down this path of wealth management, and what was your experience really working as a VP at the Chief Investment Office at JP Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So, like, what's not obvious on my resume or LinkedIn or any of that is I've really been around personal finance and wealth management my entire life, and like that's a really weird thing for most people to say, but my mother's a financial advisor, so my first job was literally filing her paperwork in exchange for candy bars out of the vending machine. So I've kind of had this, firsthand look. I've grown up with dinner table conversations around, picking dividend stocks versus not, or investing in retirement. I had a brokerage account pretty early on, which kind of got me exposed to it all. So it's just been something, I've really been involved with and exposed to from a long time. And then my first internship in college was at a local Merrill Lynch private client office, where I actually got to work with different wealth advisors as well, and saw that firsthand. And it's like, it wasn't in a high flying New York City office. It was just, there's a local regional office, and you got exposure to just how people on an everyday basis that, don't have $30 million of assets they're investing, but have, hundreds of thousands or a couple $1 million that they're investing. And so I've been around it a long time, got professional kind of Wall Street training around financial markets, being at JP Morgan for a number of different years, and across the various different assets. And then, of course, most recently I was a VC, and that really was my up close and personal look at how do you build a startup.
Yeah, that's interesting. I bet kind of, I mean, really something I thought about, right, is you working at JP Morgan and having access and impact on a $300 billion securities portfolio is really interesting. Was there any kind of learnings that really helped inspire you to create Mezzi, where it's like, wow, like we're doing this for these types of clients, and what are the unlocks we can do also with new technologies to the
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd say the commonality across my time at JP Morgan, there's a few different areas that are really relevant to, just helpful learnings around what we're building today, and just generally around like as a founder building a company. Specific to kind of that role in JP Morgan's chief investment office. So it's actually, helping manage a $300 billion portfolio on behalf of the firm. JP Morgan is the largest bank in the United States, 2 trillion plus of assets. And so, they, like most banks, they keep a large fixed income portfolio that they invest across a variety of different assets. And so I really had exposure to everything from investing in treasury bonds to agency mortgage-backed securities to municipal bonds to commercial mortgage-backed securities, et cetera.
Wow.
And it was, I actually worked for a very senior executive in that role for a period of that time. And that executive reported to Jamie Dimon, the CEO chairman of JP Morgan. And so I had a firsthand look at how does this executive manage this $300 billion portfolio in the grander scheme of how do you, move the ship of a $2 trillion balance sheet with the largest bank. And so I learned about everything from, investing to risk management to portfolio management to just leadership of an organization within a very, very big organization. And then the time I was there, there's just a lot going on in the markets. We're coming right off of the Great Recession to the European debt crisis that was happening. And I'd say the commonality in my time at JP Morgan is just within financial markets, things are always changing. And so you're always context switching. You're always reacting to something new. And as I'm sure you can appreciate, when you're building a startup, things are always changing. You're always reacting to something new. There's always a fire that you're dealing with. And you're always trying to figure out what's most important to spend your time on versus, what is maybe a lower priority.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's kind of what's your focus, and it's kind of similar to investing as well, right? Where I took all the courses for my CFP. I helped build out SoFi's robo advisory arm, with John Foley, who we both know now, and it's pretty interesting. One of my favorite classes was behavioral finance.
Oh, yeah.
And really understanding, and I gotta say, getting CFA all 3 levels, that's super impressive.
I mean,
But yeah,
behavioral finance is, if you can unlock that, then you can build a very big business. So
yeah. Well, just relating to back to what you were talking about previously, it's you have all these things coming at you. How do you just have the right focus, have the right strategy, and stick to it? Because we're subject to our own feelings and irrationality, as they like to call it.
yeah, I mean, so bringing that back to what we're building with Mezzi. One of the things I've learned as I've explored this space quite a bit is that the value inherent in investing is just uncertainty. I think people in our lives, day-to-day lives, whether it's managing your wealth, your health, or other things in your lives, uncertainty is really the hardest thing to deal with. Is the market going to go up? Am I going to be able to retire in 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is?
Hmm.
Do I have enough for my family? do I got to keep working this job that I don't like? All of these things like really eat at us. And so, you know, I think at a really high level, what we're building is a platform to help people deal with the uncertainty around building their wealth. And if we can figure that out, then we're going to build something really, really powerful here.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm super excited to dive deeper into how you guys are doing that. One question I had though is, super impressive background. What really made you make the leap from VC to founder, and what was kind of the aha moment for you?
Yeah, I've reflected on this quite a bit. I mean, my mother's an entrepreneur. She started her own financial advisory business.
Oh wow.
Before that, we had a couple of other businesses in our family as well. And so, um, these are non-traditional businesses. They're not startups, but I've kind of been around that entrepreneurial mindset for a long time. I'd say working at a large corporation like JP Morgan, I lost touch with that a little bit. But then as a VC with Trilogy in Seattle, where I was working with, really amazing operators that have built multiple multi-billion dollar businesses, and just being at a partner meetings with them week in, week out, and kind of the learnings that you see around how to operate a business, how to build a business, combined with investing in and supporting founders as a VC. One, I couldn't help but like the itch was starting to be scratched to build a business, and I had to go and do it. But it just made me reconnect a little bit more with kind of earlier ambitions of wanting to build a business.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. I had no idea your mom also ran a financial advisory business. That's such a cool backstory. So you've
Yeah.
probably gotten a lot of good insights from her building her business, and kind of interesting things like interesting tech that could help her with her clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, what's been most interesting is, I mean, her clients were in many cases Indian immigrants.
Mm,
My mother and my father themselves are Indian immigrants, and so it was a unique look into like that market. And many of her clients were also business owners themselves, and so how are they building their businesses combined with how are they building their wealth? What were the different challenges that they were facing? She would get calls at all hours, at all days, you know, with them needing support. And so, what I've realized is technology, there's a huge opportunity for technology to solve for technology to enable people to solve a lot of problems independently on their own. And A financial advisory business, I think most people associate it with managing a portfolio, but the common misconception is that like financial advisory is not investment management. Like investment management is just a sliver of what a financial advisor does. Uh,
mhm,
and a lot of the investment management has actually been through technology and just general trends in the industry, has enabled people to do a lot of it independently. Whereas
mhm.
there's still a lot of other complicated things out there that are maybe a little bit more challenging to navigate on your own without the help of a professional.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of, having that security, having someone you can reach out to, or some sort of system where like, hey, this is handled, this is taken care of. I have a good plan for the risks that are happening in my life, right? That's really what a lot of people need and want, and
Yeah.
it's cool that you're leading into that. Um, I mean, really, kind of going more into your product and kind of what you're focusing. How are you kind of viewing wealth management from a different perspective? Kind of what are you seeing where you're really filling those gaps and approaching the market in a new way?
Yeah, I mean, so we're specifically building for people that want to self-manage their wealth.
Mm,
They either work with a financial advisor in some capacity, mostly beyond investment management, um, or they're just fully managing their investments on their own. Um, you know, Through the democratization and increased access we've all benefited from over the past, couple of decades within investing, whether it's Robinhood pushing commissions, down to zero, and just enabling more people to participate in investing through a really friendly UI. Or, even before that, a trend of switching from mutual funds, which have really high fees associated with them, to ETFs. We've seen this kind of democratization of access. Within that, that's actually led to a lot of complexity. On top of that, there's more job mobility than ever before. So people might be switching jobs every 2 years. And with that, starting a new 401k at a new employer. And so, like myself, you have a lot of people who have ended up, particularly if they have families, if they're helping manage a partner's investments, or even their children's investments through college saving plans and whatnot, that they're flooded in investment accounts, let alone bank accounts and beyond that. And they're having a hard time, managing that complexity effectively. And we really think that there's a lot that technology can do to help manage that complexity. And then more importantly, being able to layer on insights on top of that, much like you might get from a personalized advisor that might be looking at your portfolios, on an ongoing basis. We can serve up various different insights to help you save on your taxes, save on your fees, rebalance your portfolio and beyond, to really, meet your own personalized kind of investment goals.
I think that's amazing. It's kind of, the rebundling or the unbundling, kind of what's
That's exactly
happening
what it is. It's the unbundling of investment management out of financial advisory.
Right. Because it's kind of interesting, right? For myself, right, I'll maybe have assets somewhere and it's like, oh, I really wish I actually, could tap that into my holistic risk picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
My risk picture is very different from other people's risk picture, depending, especially, being a founder and that's a whole other ballgame, right?
Yeah.
And so say you want to buy, get a mortgage or anything like that. How do you want to kind of allocate that? And I think there's going to be so much unlocked, because really in the teens, what I saw, just because I built in the space and I'm super excited about what Mezzi's doing. I love it. Is kind of like robo advisors. That's great. Let's stick you just in a portfolio with this batch of ETFs. But now it's like, how do we look at your whole risk picture, your whole profile, all your assets, and then continuously monitor that on a proactive basis? So I'm really excited.
I love what you said there, because it's it hits on a really important point that we're addressing. So if you think about the general kind of financial establishment, they like to put the individual or the family into various different buckets and label them as, conservative, aggressive, not, somewhere in the middle, or they like to label people as day traders. Anyone who's on Robinhood is a day trader. The truth of the matter, and by the way, we'll talk to a lot of users themselves and we'll ask them, they'll self-label themselves as a day trader, and I'll say, well, how frequently do you trade? And say, I'll make a trade once a week. Well, that's not the definition of a day trader. A day trader is someone who's trading literally throughout every day. We'll ask other people, well, they'll say, I'm more of a long-term investor, and I'll say, how often do you trade? And they'll say, I don't know, maybe I make 100 trades a year. That doesn't strike me as a long-term investor, but that's beyond the point. It doesn't matter what I think. It's really about what do you need and how can we help support your needs, however you want to go about building your wealth, without trying to put a model around you or a cookie cutter approach to wealth management, without saying, well, you should not invest in crypto at all, or you shouldn't, you're over allocated to crypto, or whatever it might be. Is really trying to meet you with what you need and give you the support and insights you need to make the smarter decisions for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm just super excited about. I think what your company is doing, just really looking at it from a very individualized perspective. I know you're doing some cool stuff, maybe a little under wraps right now, but I'm really excited for once you kind of die. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about it, but
yeah, I'm happy to talk about what we've built and kind of where we're headed. We went live in the App Store in December, so it's still pretty early days. My co-founder Hirsch Reddy and I have been, exploring this space and building products in this space for the past few years. Long story short, we basically after learning a lot, we shelved essentially what we were building, and we said we're going to start from scratch and we're going to build something brand new. And so we started that journey in May, leveraging, of course, all the learnings that we had prior to that. And early signs are it's going really well. We're our user is generally someone who's kind of like what you call mass affluent, so has 100K of liquid assets or above, or high net worth individuals, and so we have a good mix of both of those. And today, what we're doing is we're kind of enabling you to bring all of your different investment accounts, and then we help you organize the complexity around that through our mobile app on iOS. And you can then recognize things like, saving on your capital gains taxes, avoiding, like, if you're an active trader, maybe you want to optimize for long-term capital gains as opposed to short-term capital gains. And so giving you insights to become perhaps less of an active trader just by showing you the tax implications. And then, bringing more awareness to the fees that might be in your portfolio that you might not realize because, a parent or an advisor may have bought a expensive mutual fund, and, if you're paying 50 basis points a year on that mutual fund or even some ETFs, that can add up to quite a bit over the long term. And so bringing awareness around that as well. And then a variety of different insights around diversification, concentration, allocation of your portfolio. And we've built in some AI into our product today, and we have a lot more planned on that front as well.
That's super exciting. It kind of Matt Harris from Bain Capital Ventures, he talks about where eventually your financial AI is going to be able to talk and renegotiate with the bank's AI. And kind of where I could see this going is, hey, we have this mutual fund with these amount of fees. Would you want to switch to this similar fund over here that can kind of replace that? And then I noticed you're over allocated now. Let's just check in. And I think we're going from this shift. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, where it's like, hey, just like no fees, like whatever, to like, no, I want like really good, someone who can really have my back, whether that's an AI or a person, and just consistently check that. And I'm okay for paying with that. Me as a person, I just don't have time to deal with this. I'm okay with paying a little bit more. And I think that shift is happening in the market versus just smaller and smaller margins.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that I'm excited about there. There's a balance where I think you can automate a lot of the friction that is there with wealth management, whether it's, logging into my Schwab account and making a trade, and then logging into my Fidelity HSA and making another trade. Imagine if you have AI agents that are going to do that on your behalf, much like a financial advisor who has custody over your accounts might do on your behalf. Or maybe it's hey, by the way, NVIDIA's run a lot over the past year. It's your top holding. You have high single stock concentration risk. Would you like to go and trim your exposure to that? By the way, this is the most tax efficient way to do that. Are you okay with this? If so, I will go ahead and execute that on your behalf. Someone who, we've spoken to we speak to people all the time, obviously our users, and the word that's been used is, I don't want to be like a day trader. I don't want to actively manage my investments, but I need helpful interventions along the way. And that's what I think of, like the possibilities of AI. I mean, we're doing a lot of it in an automated sense today, but AI can unlock a lot in terms of the helpful interventions you need along the way to continue to make sure you're building your wealth effectively. And, you can ultimately use that wealth to unlock whatever goals and dreams that you have.
That's amazing. I know I need to be a user of Mezzi. I'm not sure if I can get it. Yeah, I guess I
Jump
can get
on,
access
man.
to it.
Yeah, we've
I
got a
know,
lot
I
of
know.
founders that are
Everyone
using
else
us.
listening, definitely jump on. I'm excited, man. Really excited to check it out. It's, when I get that thing of just, I don't have time. I don't have time to trade. I know I'm overexposed in some positions, but if I could just get a notification saying, hey, this is what you've been interested in. Here are 3 options that you could do for this month. that'd be incredible. And just take care of it for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something people are definitely willing to pay for, what they care about. And I don't know what you're doing. I'm actually curious to hear, are you incorporating any other assets, such as real estate or anything along those lines?
Yeah, we've started off with basically what you would get in your traditional brokerage account, a Schwab, a
Mhm.
Fidelity, et cetera. So that's, that what that comes down to is stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, uh, including Bitcoin ETFs. And
Oh,
then
nice.
we have, and so there's a lot of complexity even in just managing all of that and organizing that to make sure that we're showing you the right asset allocation, the right dividend income streams. You'll be surprised at kind of the level of data normalization that we've had to do just to kind of make sure that those insights are clean. Like, how many stock splits has Tesla done over the past 5 years? Well, there's a lot of complexity in making sure that we handle
Oh,
stock splits appropriately. That being said, we want to help you manage all of your wealth, and so it's very much part of our plan. What I'll say is like what we are not is the place for you to like do budgeting. It's We're not the place to kind of help you save on a cup of coffee or cut your Netflix subscription. There's a lot of value in those things, but we believe there's just so much more value in can you grow your portfolio, which can, for our target audience, can grow to thousands, hundreds, thousands, and more in wealth that kind of puts the saving on a cup of coffee in a much smaller category.
yeah. No, it's kind of interesting, and that's amazing. I love it. Kind of where do you see the future of wealth tech going? Like, what's going to happen over the next 10, even 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it, but there's going to be, the concept of an individual or a family being able to manage their wealth completely independently and with full certainty, um, and making sure that they are on the right path. I believe that's a problem that we can solve, and I believe we're going to get there in the next 5 years. So you can get truly personalized investment management for what you want without having to give up $500,000 of your wealth in fees in order to get there over the next 30 years. So what I mean by that is like,
Yeah.
a traditional wealth management fee is 1% of your assets. Uh,
Hmm.
there's a lot of opportunity for people to just be able to do investment management on their own, while tapping into a professional for maybe some of the other more complicated things out there, whether it's very complex tax planning or estate planning, or insurance or some other areas. So
Right.
we believe you're going to be on autonomous mode when it comes to managing your investments.
That's amazing, and that's kind of how I see it too. Most where AI is kind of being more verticalized, right? It's we can actually give you this amazing overarching picture, but say you need a really really complex task done with estate planning. Hey, here's a professional I'll connect you with,
Yeah.
and that's really like, hey, I have my overarching view, I have my all my assets, my liabilities, and a great picture. I'm on top of it, but I know when I need to talk to that professional. I have that, and
Yeah.
that's
And so
incredible.
what we see is actually, I mean, people that are millions of dollars, they will use a financial advisor for some of these more complicated things, but in parallel, they will use Mezzi to get organized and manage the complexity of their investments in particular. But that way, they don't have to, pay an asset management fee to an advisor, which again, that 1%, can add up to $500,000 or much more depending on your asset base over your time to retirement.
Yeah, and it's almost like this new unlock that you guys are building, where it's like, hey, and financial advisors are great; they have their place, but really fast, overarching an overview of what I can do, what I need to do, checking in. That's amazing. But Manish, we are at the end of time. I could go on
Yeah,
probably
we
another
could keep
30
going.
minutes.
It's been fun, man.
But really great having you on here. And, what we like to do is here at Fridays in Fintech, we like closed loop systems. So, you know what that is, right? No KYC. So we give out gift cards to random Midwestern restaurants.
Oh, wow.
But you're in the Bay Area, so I gotta think. I gotta find something
What's your
good.
favorite random restaurant?
I kind of love Olive Garden, honestly. Applebee's is great because it's like just not. Sorry, it's not good, but you can show up and get like a
Yeah,
beer for super cheap. What about
yeah.
yours?
Growing up, Olive Garden was awesome. I spent way too much time as a teenager hanging out at TGI Fridays.
Ooh,
I
well,
don't know if it's my favorite, but
it
I
just so
definitely spent way
happens
too much
that
time there.
it just so happens that's the gift card for today. So
Oh,
that's your gift for
yes. An
today.
excuse to go back.
Yes, exactly. But Manish, this has been amazing. Thanks for joining. Definitely learned a lot. Very excited. Check out Mezzi. Everyone download it. I'm going to download it right now. I'm super excited.
Mezzi
Thanks
on
for
the
joining us.
Apple App Store. Thanks so much, Jake. I really appreciate the time. This was awesome.